Hey kids,
Hey Dad!
what do you want to do today?
We don't know!
Want to go to the movies?
No!
Want to go to the water park?
No!
Want to go play disc golf?
Yeah! Let's go play disc golf!
Hey guys, welcome back to RC Disc Golf Podcast. Sorry, as I get myself adjusted here. As of right now, a little thing here. I am by myself. Josh is not here. We tried to record on Sunday, and I had some issues with the software that I was using, and it didn't hold the video files, so they got all encrypted. So I got a new software that I'm trying out today. Hopefully it works out a lot better. So I'm going to go through my round for what we did on Saturday. It was the round 2 for the WNY Points series event at Arrowhead Disc Golf Course and Willson-Tuscarora State Park. So I love this course. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's challenging. As you'll hear about our rounds, we both had a pretty rough day, as far as I think a lot of people have. Other than that, not really much feedback to say about the overall course or event. I love doing the point series event. It's definitely very challenging and one of my favorite things to do. With that being said, I mean, I'm gonna go through my round, and then I'm gonna switch the camera over. Josh recorded by himself at his house with his laptop, so he'll be in after me. That's pretty much it. Again, though, if you guys haven't, like, share, subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify. I mean, we're on all the things. TikTok. Still working our way up to 100 subscribers. 100 subscribers. We're going to do a raffle giveaway for this custom dyed RC Disc Golf disc. And it's the Latitude 64 Brave, if you guys didn't know or want to know. So this will be our giveaway for the 100th subscriber. So make sure you guys share and subscribe to everything on YouTube. That would be fantastic. All right, let's get into it. Let me pull up my scorecard here. All right. So hole 1 at Wilson. That's a 214-foot par 3. Plays pretty much downhill the whole way. You're throwing directly at water, so it's pretty intimidating. I just misreleased. I threw a little too low. I go the right side gap. It's more open that way. It's less pinched off. I tried to forehand something down there, and it didn't work. I went too low, so I ended up just over the pathway. It's not out of bounds on the path, so that's always good. But I'm up on top of this little hill there, so I had to pitch down. Made it easy for a tap-in par. Not a bad way to start the day. I mean, obviously, we all want birdies, especially hole 1. Let's get it going, you know what I mean? Hole 2, that's a 288-foot par 3. This one's pretty simple as well for a forehand for a lefty or a righty backhand. There's nothing in your way. The basket does go uphill a little bit in this little gap area. There's a big rock wall and tree line on the left side, tree line on the right side, so you got to get into this gap. So I forehanded up there. This is actually one of the furthest drives I ever had on this hole. I'm probably about 40 feet to the pin. I gave it a good run. I don't know if I hit the cage or if I just missed completely. But I did not make the birdie, so it was just an easy tap in for par as well. Hole 3, that's a 271-foot par 3. This one I can go either way. You got trees up in the middle, but there's a big left gap, there's a big right gap. I can forehand or backhand. Since the forehand worked out so well on the last hole, I figured I'd try it again. Be the same shot, just straight, let it hyzer out to the left at the end. Didn't work out. I misreleased. I went too early. So I missed the right gap. I ended up going the left side, which then it did hyzer out like it was supposed to. Stayed in bounds, but I'm almost all the way back to hole 1's tee pad. So I'm pretty far away from the pin. So I just had to lay up and then tap in for another par on hole 3. Hole 4, that's a 441-foot par 3. I had a great forehand again on this one. Probably one of my furthest drives as well. Again, though, I'm probably 80 feet to the pin, maybe 100. I saw my other two card mates throw something a little too high, and I watched the wind just take those discs. So I tried to go a little bit lower with my putter to get up close to the pin. Unfortunately, I went too low, hit the ground. I'm still now another like 35, 40 feet away from the pin. So I'm not anywhere in my range for an easy putt. I ended up taking a bogey on 4 because of that. Hole 5, that's a 510-foot par 4. There is a mandatory tree on the right side, just pretty much prevents you from throwing a super hyzer right at the roadway. So again, my backhand, last time I was here at this course, I was practicing. My backhand ended up hyzering out too early and ended up going OB in that road. So I didn't want to do that again for the event. So I opted to do a forehand. Just threw it too low, so I didn't get the distance that I wanted. Second shot, though, that was a pretty big crush on my part. I think probably close to about 310, 320. So that was a decent second shot. But again, I'm still about 40 feet away for a birdie, just outside my zone. So I ended up laying up for a par on this one. Nothing else I could do until I get, you know, these little things dialed in and be more consistent with my throwing. That's all I can really do on these holes. Hole 6 is a 274-foot par 3. This is the one that really bothers me because for a lefty backhand, there is nothing in my way. It's pretty wide open, and it being under 300 feet, I don't understand why I'm not parking this hole every single time. I end up always going short, and there's some pine trees on the right side of the pin. That's usually where I end up, is right behind those pine trees. So I'm usually obstructed towards the pin, which I was this time. I tried to do like some sky hyzer with my putter and have it crash down next to the basket, but I didn't go wide enough. So I ended up sending it over the top of the basket, and it skipped about, I would say about 35, 40 feet again. Is probably about how far I am from the pin. So I gave it a run. I think I hit the cage. Didn't connect with the chains on this one either. So this was a tap-in bogey as well on 6. Hole 7, 222-foot par 3. This one is pretty low ceiling. There's a little slope that goes down and then back up towards the pin. It's actually a really nice shot placement, I think. It's definitely one of my more favorable holes on this course. I just take something understable, do a little hyzer flip right up and through that gap there. Usually ends up going right towards the pin. And I did that, and it worked out really well for me during the round. I was probably about 20 feet away from the pin for an easy birdie. So that's the only way I know how to play that hole, and this is the only one I can actually do pretty consistently unless I throw too low, which happens every now and then. Like on hole 8 right now. So hole 8, 330-foot par 3. This one is a huge tunnel shot, just pine trees all the way down. Halfway through, there is a gap either left or right if you want to flex something out, try to get on into the fields on the outside of the trees, and then have like a hyzer back towards the pin. That's a safe way to play it. Obviously, the more difficult way is just to go up the gap all the way, which is usually what I try to do. Again, with something understable, I try to flip up and have it go straight through the gap. But this one, I did misrelease, and I threw it too low. I hit a tree early on the right side, so I'm probably only about 10, 15 feet maybe 30 feet from the tee pad. It just didn't go anywhere. Second shot, same thing. Another flip-up hyzer. I grabbed a little slower speed disc to do it, though, because I wanted to get something to go pretty straight. It didn't work out. I ended up hyzering out towards the right. Probably put too much angle on it or something like that. So now I'm in the field outside of the pine trees. I have to lay up. There's no way I can run a putt from the distance that I'm at, so I had to lay up for a bogey on hole 8. I do kind of find it weird, though, because on UDisc it does have it labeled as a par 4. But for the tournaments, it's obvious par 3 at 330 feet. I don't know why UDisc has it as a par 4, but it's neither here or there. Doesn't really matter. We always play it as a 3. Hole 9, 254-foot par 3. This one is a pretty tight gap to hit right off the bat. There's a lot of trees on the right side. There's a big tree in the middle of the fairway. So you got to get in between the tree line and that big tree. I usually take something a little overstable, try to throw it just straight as possible and let it hyzer out at the end. I had a great shot on this one. I'm probably about 60 feet to the pin to go. And so I throw my second shot. I juiced it a little too much, though. It goes straight at the basket, but right over the top of it. I was hoping to hit either band or one of the guardian trees that are around there. There's a bunch of pine trees around this hole. I was hoping to hit something and have it drop there, but it didn't. It ended up sailing right past the basket, probably another 40 feet past. So again, I go for it. I try to get the par save. I don't make it. I hit the cage again for another tap in bogey on hole 9. Hole 10, that's a 300-foot par 3. This is another one that's in my head of why I'm not getting closer to the pin on every drive. Probably it's in my head because it's so tight. Again, you got a bunch of trees on the left-hand side and a huge tree line with woods on the right side. Sorry, and then just bigger trees on the left side. You can usually flex something out towards the left and try to get around. That's the safe play for sure, which I tried to do. I tried to forehand something up the middle and have it hyzer out to the left, so I'm in a safe spot for a layout for par. Early release again, though. I didn't go in the woods on the right side, so that's a plus. I ended up hitting a tree and falling back in the fairway, but only like 10 feet above the red tees, so I didn't go very far. Second shot, I threw my backhand, and it actually ended up going past the basket on my second shot. Probably another 40, 45 feet past. That's been pretty consistent for this whole round. I go ahead and try to do another par save, and I hit the cage again, and another tap in bogey again for 10. Hole 11, 318-foot par 3. These ones are also really pinched off and real skinny. You got a bunch of big trees on the left side, huge brush line with trees, woods, and everything on the right side. If you don't pierce something straight up through the middle, it's very, very difficult to get up to these pins, in my opinion. I tried to do a forehand and have it skip left. That's the safe play. Again, too early, and I went into the brush line. I think I'm rolling my wrist at this point. So my forehand goes into the woods on the right side. I have to pitch out, then pitch back around towards the pin. I think I ended up in the brush again. And then, now I'm laying out for a double bogey. So I tap it in for a double bogey on hole 11, and that's not fun. Hole 12 is 297-foot par 3. This one's a little more open than 11, but pretty much the same type of shot. You got a bunch of woods on the right side, big trees on the left side, but it is more open. So I opt to go with a backhand here, try to get something straight and have it hyzer right going up towards the pin. There's another tree gap up there that the pin is sitting up into. Early release again on this one. It goes further down the fairway, but it does end up in that big brush tree line on the right side, which forces me to just do a pitch out, and then second shot is just laying up for a bogey. Third shot laying up for a bogey on hole 12. Hole 13, 365-foot par 3. Again, almost the same as 11 and 12. So 11 starts real pinch, 12 opens up a little more, 13 opens up a lot more. I went with the same backhand shot that I did on 9 and 12. A little early though. I don't hit my gap. I'm heading towards the inside line. There's a big telephone pole right there. You can go on the inside of that, but you will be pinched off up to the pin. I ended up hitting that telephone pole, and it drops right there. Second shot, I try to just hyzer up to the right to get into the gap to where the pin is sitting. I threw it too straight, so it didn't make it up into where I wanted it to, which left me to lay up again for a tap-in bogey. 14, 305 foot par 3. This is another one that I'm getting closer and closer at every time I play this hole. For a lefty backhand, it's almost a hyzer all the way to the pin. I like to throw something a little more straighter out there, though, because there's usually a lot of water, standing water around the pin. So I used to go with something pretty straight to get into a dry landing zone and then pitch up for par. Now I can get pretty much to the pin within like 50, 60 feet to the pin. So I've been doing that lately. It's been working out pretty well. I did that I did that Saturday, which just left me, like I said, about 60 foot upshot to the pin for a tap-in par to make it fairly less stressful, pretty easy par. 15, 245 foot par 3. This one I can go left or right if I wanted to do a forehand. Either way, they would have to be like a sky shot, like a sky hyzer, because there is a huge tree line behind the pin, and if you end up going into that tree line, it's a big slope, big ditch going down towards the water. So that's it's not ideal to go deep on this hole, so I try to do some type of sky hyzer, whether it's forehand or backhand, and have it spike down right next to the pin. That's the shot that I went with the backhand sky hyzer shot. I didn't go wide enough, so I ended up sailing it past the pin towards the right side, short obviously, and then it's probably about 45, 50 feet to the pin. So it's I go to pitch up, I end up going too far. I hit the tree line behind the pin, but I don't go too deep. I'm able to save par coming out of those trees. Hole, where was I? 15, 16. That's a 223 foot par 3. This one just has a lot of trees in your way. The easiest gap is definitely on the right side. The left side, there's that big tree line that we were just throwing at. So if you go left, it's going to go down that slope, and you most likely won't see your disc again. And this time it's marked OB on this hole. There's also OB behind it. There's a big ditch right behind the pin. That's always OB as well. So like I said, the right side gap is definitely the way to go. I try to forehand something up there. I think I just went too low, so I didn't get the distance that I wanted, but I had a huge skip off to the left side, and there is a big tree that kind of like splits off, and I'm pinched off. I'm behind that tree looking at the pin. So it's I don't have an easy putt for a birdie on this one either. Best thing I can do is straddle out to the right and do a little anhyzer toss up to the pin. I gave it a good run, but I just went too low, just underneath the cage, and so it was a tap-in par for me. There's nothing else I can do being that pinched off. Hole 17, 249 foot par 3. This one just has trees all along the right side. There's a little gap up there, pine trees up towards the pin. You can either go through that gap. It's not ideal to do that unless you got like some crazy flex shot like Josh has. It's not that's not a way I go. There's a road on the left side. That road is OB, but there's nothing else over there. So what I do, I just take something overstable, send it out straight, kind of going, and have it hyzer out back towards the pin to the right. I actually end up oversending this one probably about 20 feet past the basket, so that was a huge shot for me. Definitely the closest I've ever been on this hole. I've never gotten that close to the pin before, so that was a great shot and made it for an easy birdie on 17. Hole 18 is a 276 foot par 3. This one is another one that's pretty wide open. You got OB on the road on the right side, and there's a big guardian tree probably about 60 feet before the pin. So this one I can go either left forehand or the left side backhand. Either way, it doesn't matter for me. I usually can get there with both, but with the heavy wind that usually was there and the OB on the road, I opted out not to do a forehand going towards the road and having it flex back. I went with something a little understable, tried to flip up towards the pin. That's been working out pretty well during my practice rounds. I just misreleased and threw it too low, so I didn't get the distance that I wanted, which opted me to just a layup for an easy par and to settle my round with a 7 over par. That's Again, not ideal, especially because the last few times I've been there, I've been 2 over, 3 over par. I know I can do better at this course. I don't want to blame the weather. It was definitely just me misreleasing my shots, just having bad form. Something that I got to look into working on. As far as we go with the battle for the belt this year, between me and Josh, he took this one again. So he had, I ended up with 7 over. Josh ended up with 6 over par. So Josh took the win. Good job, Josh. He's now, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's 11 points ahead of me. He's absolutely dominating this battle between us. Hopefully, within the next few events, I can turn something around. I don't know what else to do. I mean, the only news I have right now for you guys, I will be taking a break from at least competing for a while. Not due to any reasons of like I suck or nothing. I'm not like quitting out. I'm having my wife is having another baby. Yes, it's mine. I'm just gonna take a break and deal with the family stuff that we got going on for the next month or two. I'll probably be back sometime in July. I'm definitely taking the whole month of June off. We'll see about maybe doing here and there practice rounds, some casual rounds, maybe some leagues. But other than that, I'm not going to be doing any actual tournaments until my household settles down a little bit with the newborn. So I'm actually looking forward to this time off. I think with all the rounds that me and Josh have played already this year, like I said, he's 11 over me. So we've played like 13, 14 rounds. And that's like pretty much the most I've ever played already this year. I mean, I've never done this many rounds of playing in a whole year. I think 20 something is the most I've done in a year. So we're cruising right up on that already, and we're only getting into June. So that's insane. I think I'm definitely going to deserve this break, and I'm going to work on some form, work on my putting, work on my run-ups, and just try to dial this in and get rid of all these mistakes that I've been making, as well as my personal physique as well. I want to blame that, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm not getting good form because I don't move as well as I used to. I definitely can't get my arm back the way it's supposed to for a forehand. I just don't move that way anymore. So biggest thing is working on my physique, losing a few pounds, stretching out, getting a little more flexible again. And hopefully that takes care of the issues that I've been having. Other than that, I'm going to send you guys over to Josh now, and he'll talk about his round. So here's Josh right now.
All right, so as Jimmy has already previously stated, we experienced some technical difficulties the other night when we were recording our podcast. So, and due to conflicting schedules of our work, we weren't able to get together to record the full podcast. So, hopefully, this is just a one-time thing, temporary. We're going to see how this goes. He recorded his half at his house with the nice setup. I have to record mine at my house with not the nice setup. So sorry in advance for the poor quality on my end. But yeah, Jimmy went through all his round and he described each hole. So I'll just go through my round quick and I won't have to sit here and describe each hole because he did a pretty good job of that. And then there's a couple other things I want to talk about. So, hole 1 at Wilson, I took the anvil, did an approach shot. Sent out a little bit too high. It hit the tree branches and dropped down at the bottom of the hill. So it was an easy approach, chip up, and drop in for par. Hole 2, I had misread what the wind was doing to Aaron and Jimmy's disc. So I was third on the box for this one. So I cut it short. I did a hyzer, but instead of kind of let it ride wide to the gap and let it hyzer and go into the gap, I cut it short thinking the wind was going to push it to the gap, and it didn't. So I ended up in the brush. So then once I was in the brush, I tomahawked up over the brush. It was kind of above my head, so I couldn't really see anything. So I kind of rely on my card mates to tell me that it was a good shot. I didn't see any of it. But when I got out of the brush and walked up to my lie, I was about 35 feet short of the pin, so I was pretty stoked. I ran it. I missed, but nice drop in bogey. I was pretty content taking a bogey for what I had. Hole 3. This one was a nice backhand hyzer. I crushed it out there. I was pin height, but then I was 50 feet off to the right. It didn't hyzer back in like I thought it would. I thought the wind was gonna push it back in towards the pin as it was coming in, but it didn't. So I was probably 45, 50 feet off to the right of the pin, but at pin height. I ran it, and then it was a drop in for par, which I was pretty stoked about. Hole 4, I had an amazing forehand flex on this one. I took the enforcer, crushed it out there. I was probably about 50, 60 feet short of the pin. It was a nice crush. And then from there, I attempted to run at it, but 40 to 50 feet is kind of, if I do somehow make it, that's by pure luck. But I ran it. So then it was a drop in for par, which I was pretty excited about. So things were looking pretty good. Hole 5, I shanked my drive on this one. I set my enforcer up too high. Probably got out, probably 300 feet. Wasn't the best drive in the world, but I'm still in the middle of the fairway. And then I was able to take the glory. I did a standstill flick flex and dropped it within 15 feet of the pin. So I was pretty excited about that. Got up, getting ready for an easy bird, but I had a spin out, and then I had a tap out for par. So I definitely circled that one because I was kind of upset that that's what happened. Hole 6, I crushed a felon. Crushed a felon. Nice forehand flex. Had it drop within 30 feet of the pin. So then I would say maybe 25 to 30 feet, somewhere in between there. So bird look again. I went to putt. I hit ban. Smacked the ban, and it dropped down. Had a tap out for par. I definitely circled down on the scorecard because that should have been a bird that I should have gotten. Hole 7, I can never get this one good. I constantly hit that first available tree off to the right. So that's what I hit. And then I had this awkward straddle out, kind of forehand approach, put 15 feet within the pin, and then there was a tap in for par. So I was pretty stoked about that. Hole 8, I took the felon. I flexed it out through the gap of the left of the tunnel. Went out, came back in about 35 feet of the pin. I ran it. I grazed the chains, and it dropped down. That was a tap in for par, which I was pretty excited about. Hole 9. This one was just a felon on a hyzer. Just kind of flicked it out there. I went got to the middle of the fairway, out in when you make it through the gap, that opening. So I was there. So then I took the anvil again. I think I said the anvil for my first shot. Hopefully I did, because that's what I shot. But then the anvil, I took that and I skipped it, and it went right to the pin, and it was a drop in for par. So I was pretty excited. So through the first 9, I was +1, but after looking through the card, I should have been -1, but hey, it is what it is. Hole 10, this one, I took the felon, I shot it out towards the road, kind of get myself in that opening. It flexed out beautifully, started coming back in. I was probably about, I would say 60 feet. I didn't give it much height because the gap was pretty low. So then I had, the ceiling of the gap was pretty low that I sent it out through. So it started flexing, and then as it was starting to come back in, that's when it hit the ground, and then that was it. Then I took the anvil and I flicked the anvil up into the, there was some brush right next to the pin. So I just aimed right there and just let it skip into the brush, and then it was a tap in for par. I was pretty excited about that. Hole 11, I'm kind of bummed out about. This one, I instead of, you got the tight tunnel, like it looks like a tunnel, but it's not a real tunnel. It's like a tight, just gap that right along the brush that's on the right. I shot it. I flexed out, went around the trees, looked pretty good, but again didn't give it much height because of the ceiling of the gap I went through. So as it was starting to flex back in, again it hit the ground. Didn't get much distance. And then I had to, then I did my approach shot. So then I flicked the Savior, but I sent this one out way too far. So it went out, it came back in. I was probably about 25, 30 feet past the pin. And then this one should have been a par putt, but I hit the band and then it dropped down on the ground. So then I had to tap out for a bogey. I definitely underlined that one because that one definitely should have been a par. Hole 12, this one, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, hole 12. This one was just awkward. I sent it out towards the telephone pole that's up on that little hill. So it flexed out. I took the felon again. I flexed it out. Didn't really give it much height. This one I didn't like the throw I did. Wasn't too thrilled about it. So didn't really get the full flight. It just kind of like got up on that hill and then kind of like stalled out. Had a look at the basket and I kind of oversent it. So I was about 15, 20 feet deep into the brush beyond the pin. So I kind of had to climb in there, had to pitch out, and then had to tap in for bogey. Underlined that one too because that one definitely should have been a par one, but I played that one like a bonehead. So yeah, I wasn't too thrilled about that. Hole 13, this one I took a bogey on, and it was a well-deserved bogey because the way I played it. Normally I would like take the felon and I would just flex shoot it at a nice height, not too crazy, just kind of a typical height that I throw them at. And I normally aim in between the cluster of trees and the telephone pole. And normally flexes good and then lands right by the gap. But I decided I was going to try and go up over the trees to make sure that it really gets deep into the gap and see if I can try and get a bird look at this one. It went up, and then as it went up, it did a couple air bounces. And once it started doing the air bounces up by the tops of the trees, I knew I was going to be in some trouble there. So I went out by the trees. It hit the trees, dropped down behind the trees. It was awkward. I didn't really have any approach shot or nothing, so I kind of had to use a stroke to kind of flick myself back out into the gap, the opening leading to the gap. So probably about 80 feet from the pin, I could see the basket. I took the anvil. This is like the third time I've done this on this hole. I flicked the anvil and went in there really good, really hard. Like I wasn't trying to run it or nothing, but it hit the cage and just dropped right there. So then it was a drop in for bogey, which was it was a deserved bogey for how I played it. 14, hole 14. This one I parred. I took the felon, I threw it on hyzer, and then held the hyzer. When I gave it height, held the hyzer, dropped about 40 feet from the pin. I ran it, missed it, and then that was a tap in for par. So I was pretty stoked about that. Hole 15. This one I did an approach hyzer flip with the Savior. Got it out there about 25 feet short of the pin. Should have been a bird. But I don't know what's wrong with my putting. But I went to go putt it. I don't know. I'm not sure if the wind picked it up or something, but it was going to hit band. Then it hit the top of the basket and then shot up. And then went down, into the brush, like ran the very edge of where the slope starts. It should have been an easy par, but I decided to not take a good putting stance. So I was on my tippy toes, kind of straddled straddle it because I was at the very edge of the flat, and then right behind that is where the slope starts going down. I didn't give myself a good footing, and I tried to just kind of pitch it in. Had it spit out to the left, which I'm not surprised about. Putting was just ridiculous. So then I was tap in for Bogue, and that one I definitely circled because right there it should have been a bird, but I was just having putting issues. Hole 16, I crushed this. I crushed this with the Savior on the hyzer backhand. Landed about 20 feet from the pin. And again, I don't know what's wrong with my putting. I shanked the putt. I hit the top of the basket again and watched my putter go up, come down, and roll down to the OB. And then I turned an easy bird into a bogey. I don't know what's wrong with my putting. It's just, this is the second tournament where my putting's blown up my good rounds. Hole 17, this one I really haven't really figured out much for this hole. I would normally par it. I birdied it once, like one time during a practice round. I got lucky on that, but otherwise I haven't really figured this hole out. I tried flexing a felon through the gap down there, but as it started to flex back into the gap, and it was looking pretty good, it took a little bit of an air bounce, nicked the branches, dropped down. So then it was just kind of a chip up and then drop in for par. Hole 18, I kind of got frustrated at this point, and I was really aggravated. So I just took the felon, I ripped it full power, sent it about 50, 60 feet past the pin. So I kind of, hole 18 is normally a birdie for me every round because it's normally a light flex with the felon, and then it normally gets there, and then I'm normally 15 feet from the pin. But yeah, but I sent this one full power because I was irritated, frustrated with how my putting was all day. So I just kind of let it all out on this throw. About 50, 60 feet past, and I end up having to pitch back up to the pin and tap out for par. End of the tournament, I was +6, but looking back at my scorecard, I should have been, I would say, +2 or even or -1 possibly. But my putting, it's just been trash. Yeah, that was that tournament. Wasn't really the best, but just kept doing, just kept it together, and I kept just going after it. Drives are starting to feel really good and starting to come out clean. Both forehand and backhand approaches are good. Now I just got to focus in on the putting. It was very interesting because on our way home, Jimmy asked me a question. He asked me, like, why aren't his practice round scores translating to his tournament scores? Like, why is it completely different? And I told him, I'm like, well, I don't really hold practice rounds to as a marker for any tournaments because you don't have the tournament pressure. And most people, when they're doing practice rounds, they will shank a drive, shank another drive, but then have a good one and go play off the good one. Or they'll have a good drive and then they'll miss like the first 2 putts, then putt in their third one for the bird, and then they count that. So you're giving yourself kind of false hopes by doing that. You basically have to, how you practice is how you're going to perform. If you give yourself false hope, then you're going to go in with unrealistic expectations to the tournament, and then it's just going to set you up for to basically fail yourself mentally once you start having a couple struggle holes, because then you'll be like, oh, but in all my practice rounds, these were easy birds. Yeah, they were easy birds on rethrows and extra putts to get them in. And then I also took it in this direction of, some people, they want to progress really fast, but it's just kind of like, okay, what extra work are you doing? Are you just playing 1 round a week? Are you doing field work? Are you stretching? Are you working out? Are you getting yourself in shape? Are you putting? Are you doing extra practice rounds? Are you basically everything that you're doing outside of like the tournament rounds is what can help you progress faster. Disc golf is definitely a sport where you get in what you put out. What you put in is what you get out. That's what I meant to say. So basically, if you're just doing 1 round a week, you're not really going to see progress. It's going to take a long time for that progress. But if you're doing things as like getting out doing field work, like once a week, twice a week, if you're getting out and putting a couple times a week, if you're doing a couple practice rounds and keeping like an honest score, that will also help you perform in tournaments. So the next couple tournaments, when he comes back from his break, hopefully he is a lot more focused. I think that'll definitely help him. As Jimmy's probably talked about, he'll be taking a couple weeks off. I think he'll be back maybe end of July, maybe beginning of August. So he'll be taking some family time to take care of his family during because he's got a new baby coming. So he'll be taking a little break, just focusing on his family, and then in a couple, maybe in like 2 months, we'll see him back out doing tournaments. But yeah, till then, I'll be representing RC Disc Golf on my own during tournaments. So, and then we'll see what podcast looks like over the next couple weeks while he's taking care of his family. Other than that, that's about all that I have to say on my end. Yeah, tune in next week, and we'll as I'm getting ready to do. As I'll talk about how I'm getting ready for Emory Tree Direction tournament out there at Emory, and on the 25th. Yeah, that course is a good course. It's big, lots of long throws, lots of hard throws. I played there twice last year. I did Tree Direction last year, and I had a terrible round. I was like plus 20 something in the first round, plus 20 in the second round. But that's when I was like a couple, like I'd say 2 months into playing disc golf. So I didn't really have any knowledge of how to throw or what to do with like any throws. Didn't really have a bag put together. I was just kind of out there just throwing. And then end of the season last year, that was the final round before the final. That was number 5 of the point series rounds was at Emory, and I ended up doing a +5, I think it was, for the 1 round. So it definitely turned around. So my expectations are going to be kind of high going out there in 2 weeks and see what I can do now that I have put in a lot of time with my throwing. I finally have a bag this year, like put together. I know my throws, I know my discs, so we'll see if I can put it together. Other than that, that's about all I got. So, like always, keep it in the fairway.
All right, guys, that was it for this week's episode of RC Disc Golf Podcast. Hopefully, we don't have to do this again. Hopefully, this new system that I have works out the way that I need it to, and we don't have to split this up like we did today. So, again, guys, like, share, subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok as well. I throw clips up there. 100th subscriber giveaway for this disc right here next to me. So make sure you send it to your friends so they can also subscribe. And thank you guys for watching, and peace out. Have a good one.